Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is Monday morning, August 14th. It's my birthday week. I'm just saying Friday's my birthday, so I'm going to take off Thursday, and my beautiful lady's got something planned for me. I don't know what yet. She just said, show up. So I'm going to show up, but I'm excited to be here. Really, as we look at August, it's hot everywhere. Man, it's hot everywhere. I think we're expecting 110 degrees in Oregon, and people cry here when it gets to be like 100. True story. Last year, I was driving home from SAC where it was like 113, and we got back up into Oregon, and we pulled into kind of Seven Feathers area on I-5, and it wasn't the casino, but we pulled into this little gas station, and there was signs up saying national emergency. The state of Oregon has shut everything down due to health hazards from the heat, and it was 96 degrees. It was like in Oregon, they freak out, right, when it gets to be in the 100-degree range. But I think it was 2 years ago or last year, Eric, it was 116 in Portland. I think it was 2 years ago. And so we're expecting 110 today. It's a big deal here in Oregon. But for the rest of you down in California, Texas, Arizona, no big deal. It's like midnight. It's 100 degrees. All right. So good to see everybody today. Thank you. Thank you for Russell, one of the leaders that, brought his team on today as well. And a lot of the faces that I see every week on the coaching calls. Listen, these are for you, right? I don't need to listen to myself. This is for you to get benefit from in your real estate business. I see some new faces here. I see some foundational faces. Don't want to say old faces. That doesn't sound good. But I see some regulars, right? I see some familiar faces. That's what I was looking for. What I want to do today is just give you some nuggets in the production space that will help you. Well, I read an article this morning that I thought was really, really on point, and it talked about how the market a couple of years ago was a now market, meaning the first or second agent that reached out to the clients got the transaction. So it was a speed to lead market, right? And if you're not muted, please mute yourself. I'll mute a couple, but if you're, there you go. And if you want to come off mute and talk, I encourage it. But the market a couple of years ago, even maybe as early as a year ago, was a speed to market, meaning speed to lead. The first person that was able to get a hold of somebody either through prospecting or nurturing and calling their database were the ones that got that transaction. Matter of fact, mathematically, it was proven that it was like in the high 80% range that if you were the first or second agent to connect with them, that you were the agent they chose mathematically. And so there's a lot of value in putting yourself in a position of being the first one to connect with them, a speed to lead type situation. Now it's moved into something different. What is it now? Either put it in chat if you want to chat yourself in, or you could take yourself off mute and say what it is. But what market are we in now? What would you say the new market? Not you, Russell. You're the leader of this thing. You know the answer. I saw you reaching for your mute button, dude. Come on, what kind of market are we in now? Chat it up or take yourself off mic. Nobody? All right, I'll tell you, we're in a skill-based market now. It's completely changed to a skill-based market, meaning it doesn't matter if you're the fastest. It doesn't matter if you're the first one to call a Zillow lead or Realtor.com lead or a referral connection lead, whatever it is. It's the skill-based market. They're looking for the most experienced agent that can get the deal done. They're looking for the most experienced agent that's got the ability to have a proven record to get it done. So your resume, your experience, going to the listings, for instance, in the past, you could just go in and talk about what your marketing strategy is now. Now they need to see your bio, your experience, what you've done, your testimonies, your background, your past closings, your marketing strategy, your online presence strategy. All these things come into play, and maybe even a couple options within those things. Right? So does that scare some of you? I mean, if I was newer in the market, it'd throw a concern at me, right? Because if you ask yourself, do I have all those things really, really dialed in? Or is Randy talking Chinese trigonometry right now? And I'm like, what did he just say? Right. So this is where I want to help you guys today. This is the type of market that we're in right now is the one that we still need to have a level of enthusiasm, level of professionalism, right? When I moved to Reading, it was like the second hottest place in the United States, true, right? Second sunniest place in the United States at like 330 something days. But it was also like 110 degrees for 60 to 70 days. Now that seems like commonplace in Florida and Texas and Arizona, but it wasn't. And so when I went and started working in real estate there in the summer, I transitioned in about May into slacks. I never really got into the shorts, but I had some kind of slacks that were comfortable, Tommy Bahamas and et cetera, and a Hawaiian shirt. That was my kind of my calling card, right? A nice silk Tommy Bahama Hawaiian shirt, had a closet full of them. And that was, didn't matter what client I was showing up for, $1 million client or a trailer. I was showing up, that was my dress. And I was very, very successful, maybe in spite of my dress, because most of the top agents in town were in the full, Mike Ferry outfit, which is suit and tie and the whole deal, right? Dressed to impress. I think it gave me a little bit of an edge because I was able to get into a posture that, hey, I'm going to handle you with service and not try to look like a car salesman. So I was kind of going maybe against the trend there. But if you're new in real estate, the way you dress is absolutely critically important in this market of a sales strategy is really, really important. So when we look at these things that you're working in right now, we've got to overcome some of the objections that you're automatically going to get, right? What's the number one objection? You guys are not very talkative today. So if you could take your mic off and play with me here, it makes it a lot easier. What's one of the number one objections you're going to get from buyers or sellers right now in this market? What's the number one objection?
And both of them are interest rate, right, Randy? Like if I sell, I lose my good interest rate. If I buy, I'm going to get into a high interest rate.
100%, Russell. So, and that's why I said buyers and sellers, right? To kind of set you up with that, but it's true. The sellers have an issue with the interest rates because they might have a 3.5 or a 3.75 and they've got to go into something else. And so you have these other components of it. They're just equally as important. And the buyers are on this fence. They're going to wait for the rates to come down, right? And so these things are conversations you have to have in the skill-based market. The days that you could put a house on the market on Friday, go to the lake on Saturday, and review the 10 offers on Sunday, and go over them with your sellers on Monday and serve a highest and best, it's really gone. There's a couple isolated markets that's still popular in price points. I know Russell's experienced this in some price points. The top agents are still seeing this, but I promise you it's not across the board. It's absolutely not across the board. So when you get into this conversation, how are you going to handle these objections? How are you going to get into the conversations to let people know that now is the best time to buy? Without bringing in a radio talk show host that really doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, honestly. We're getting a lot of conflicting information right now, the buyers and sellers are, right? Depends what channel they're on is what should happen in the real estate conversation. But the reality is this is a data-driven market. You have to back up your conversations with data, right? So I got Ann Maria that's in Hawaii. I got Eric Beachy that's in Salem. I got Russell that's in the Sacramento area. You've got different markets and different conversations you're having, but really the skill set's the same. Being data-driven to say, hey, the average time in the market here in our market, Eric Beachy's 2.7 months. That's the average time on market in the RMLS. So that's a data-driven point that you can talk to people about and make sure they're not we're going to be on the market over the weekend and then review multiple offers, right? You could also have the conversation in advance about price reductions. I just lost a listing opportunity because I had an honest price reduction strategy call with them because the home was 100 years old. It was a 90-year-old home, beautiful, 37 acres. It was listed for 1.86. And it was right in tune with where I was thinking it should be listed. But I talked about what I believe to be an aggressive reduction strategy because of their age and because of what they were telling me, that what their requirements are. Not all agents are going to have that conversation. I'm okay being second place and not getting that listing when they're not being realistic to what really is going on in the market, right? And there's that little part of me in my belly. It's like, well, what if it does sell in a week? I'm going to feel bad or whatever it is. But it's a business decision of being mathematical about your business and being really skill-based. Right. So are you guys having these skill-based conversations with your buyers? I see some heads nodding. I see the experienced agents saying yes. But what are you worried about in this market when you're talking to buyers? Let me help you. Right. This is really what this call is about. So I don't want to call out anybody specifically, but without saying names, Corey, Erica, Anita, what challenges are you having in this market that I can help with? What language are you having concerns with in your own mind? Maybe that I can give you a script that helps you move along that conversation.
Okay, I'll volunteer. So for me here in Hawaii, prices are very high and
It's,
a lot of,
I just joined the meeting.
Samuel, I'm going to mute you. Thank you. Go
um,
ahead. Sorry, Anne-Marie.
no, it's good. So a lot of, I had a couple of buyers who I was showing homes to about a year ago before the interest rates went up. And at that time they got discouraged and chose to rent. Now their rents are substantially lower than what their new payment would be. And the only thing that I thought of doing was encourage them to look at the big picture and not just how much they're saving on rent, but the equity they could be gaining in a longer period of time.
Right. And you're accurate on all levels. And I was even coaching this a year or so ago. It's like date the rate, marry the house, right? You've heard that a lot if you've been on my calls, because that was really, really working, but it's not working that much anymore. The buyers are not looking at that, logically about just getting into it for a year or two. They're looking at, they can't afford to get into it for right now. So what we need to do is we need to look at their specific thing. Number one, the market's got between 30 and 50%. There's some difference of opinions of cash buyers right now in the complete market. I read a report today. It says 50% of every purchase is a cash buyer. That takes the equation of financing out of the equation for half of them, but also makes it harder for the other half because they're competing against cash offers. And a seller's always going to look at a cash offer as a favorable offer. So when you get into those kind of numbers in a market that's really out of whack right now, because all the cash buyers are taking the opportunity that they have right now of buying cash and having all the horsepower, and they take all the financing challenges right out of the window, right? So now you take 100% of the buyer pool and you cut it in half. So you have 50% of the buyer pool, an inventory crisis or situation, all the belief that they're on the fence because of all this, right? So it's really about having a skill-based conversation with the buyers to find out what it is that's going to move the needle for them and what their needs are, short and long term, right? So then you could truly educate them based on what their needs are. And so, Anne-Marie, you did a great job by opening up that conversation. So I'm not going to pinpoint it on you, but I'm asking everybody, are you digging in deep with your buyers to find out what their true needs are, what their true pain points are? What's the advantages and disadvantages of buying now for them, not you, right? Not counting commission dollars before they're hatched, but literally in a posture of really helping them.
I feel like in this particular, I have one couple in mind that I'm thinking of, and I feel like they're just overwhelmed when they look at the numbers. They're paying $3,500 in rent for a house that fits their needs, has the storage for all their crap, and it's an affordable number, so they can explore the islands and enjoy living here. And if they get in a house that's similar to that one, it would be at least double the payment, at least, if not more.
Yeah, I have a couple coaching clients that said they've been going to the closing table a lot more lately. I've coached, I don't go to the closing table. I'm looking at doing a lot of transactions and I want to spend half my time in title. But I think that narrative's changing. I think that hand-holding them all the way through the process and being there at the key points of the transaction, there's a lot of relevance to that, and a lot of I'm going back a little bit on what I've been coaching for years in production, right? Because I'm used to coaching people that are doing 100, 200, 300 deals. It's not possible. If I'm dealing with somebody doing 12 deals a year, it's really easy to be everything to everybody and be at the inspection and be at the septic and be at the closing table and be there when they meet with the lender the first time. It's not possible, nor is it really viable for your business to do that when you're scaling your business. But there's the closing table is the one thing in my career that if I could go back on, I would change my posture, because that's the last place that you get to have that conversation with them. But the story is the agents that we're coaching to do this are shocked at what the numbers are looking like on the title sheets when they go to the closing table. They're looking at the mortgage. Some of these young folks are paying for their houses. A $400,000 house got a $3,800 mortgage payment now, when that used to be $2,200, $2,400, $2,600. So it's a significant difference in what they're paying. So you, the agent, have to be able to have those conversations, right? You have to be able to have those conversations that are saying, hey, here's what's going on in this market. At this rate, you're going to have to pay this much. Probably let's just plan on 2 years, because we've got at least a year cycle before the election cycle. We're pretty confident the election cycle is going to change the rates. There's already conversations about the Feds not continuing to raise rates. There's even been a little bit of lowering rate conversations. But the bottom line is we're running around 7%. And it's been 20 plus years. The whole time I've been in real estate business, the rates just finally exceeded what they've been in the whole 20 years. I was going to pull up the rate sheet real quick. So the national rates, this is Mortgage News Daily. I look at it all the time. The fixed rate today is 7.24%. So it's 7.25%. In 20 years, the highest it's been is right around 6.5. So we're a good solid 3/4 of a point above what we've been in a 21-year high, right? If you don't have to buy, you're not buying at 7.25. If you don't have to sell, you're not getting rid of. I have a 2.25% fixed rate mortgage that I got in January of last year accidentally. And I was not Nostradamus, and I did not know the rates were going to go crazy. I just got a call from my lender, VA lender, and he said, we could refinance at 2.25. And I'm like, if you could do that, done. And they did. In 30 days, we closed a refinanced at 2.25. No cash out, nothing, just a simple refinance. And I was already at 3.12 or something. But I have a locked in 2.25%. I'm a real person. I am not selling this house with a 2.25% mortgage. Do you understand? It doesn't matter what the market's doing. It doesn't matter what my job transfer does. It doesn't freaking matter. I'm preserving that 2.25 like it's the Holy Grail. So if it wasn't that way, if I had a 4.5 or even a 5, or maybe I had a 4 or whatever, then it starts getting closer to me making other business decisions. But at that low of a rate, it's like having free money. So I look at it like my house is like an almost 0% interest rate, and mentally, right? To put this into real conversational language. So if that's the case, if I'm looking at buying another house like we are right now, I'm not going to sell this one. So that's an additional expense or a rental situation. All these things are this tactical conversation I'm talking about having right now with people. And you have to be able to combat what it is with math. What does that look like? What's the delta between keeping this house at that rate and maybe what the rental market is, or for me, just keeping it empty while I'm gone for 6 months at a time, potentially, versus my new house that we're going to have to finance at 7.25%, right? Or maybe even a little higher with a little higher down payment because of it, right? So those are the good conversations to be having. Russ, you're one of the top agents in the area. Why don't you give me a little feedback of what you're seeing and kind of how it plays out to this particular conversation?
With specific to interest rates for buyers, it's all perception. So we're doing a lot of rate buy downs, even with the shortage of inventory. So we're seeing a lot of rate buy downs. And then
so what's the cost to the rate buy down you're seeing in your area?
The cost to the rate buy down. So again, it's all perception, right? Because it's exactly dollars for dollars. You're just prepaying interest, to be honest with you.
Yep.
Between all of us girls here and guys on the Zoom, but the perception to the buyer is, hey, I get a reduced rate for a couple of years. And that's exactly, you can do a 2 or 3 year rate buy down, right? And if you do, your mortgage loan person will be able to tell you exactly what that rate buy down is.
What are you seeing roughly? Not to hold you to the statement, but just are people able to get 1%, 2% rate buy down?
Well, you can buy down whatever rate you want. So
Right.
it's exactly the dollars that you would have paid
Anyway.
over the next couple of years. And so if you can get it negotiated, however, that makes them feel better about it, especially if it's 2 years
and so
out.
it's kind of like a variable, right? It's kind of the difference between getting a variable and a fixed for the next 2 years is one way to look at it.
Yeah. And then for sellers, I have a number of sellers that we are doing a small line equity line of credit, and they're just buying and they're holding on to their old one and they're re-renting that. I'm doing it for my brother and sister-in-law right now because they don't want to lose that great interest rate.
Right.
It's so valuable on the old property. The other thing that we're doing is we are doing some sales on assumable loans. So any FHA or VA assumable loan, we did a whole advertising package on that. They do take a while. I'm on month like 5 on the assumption on one for a VA, but that has been outstanding. And then Randy, when you do have a second, I would love for you to touch on the powerful conversation we had last week around the folks that you coach that do over 100 deals a year and how they are upset with themselves because they can't get, 3 hours plus worth of lead gen in, and the folks that are doing less than a deal a month can't find time to do an hour, right? Which is very ironic.
Yeah, it is ironic. And I'm going to tell you this is a coaching call. So sometimes it's not comfortable to hear. And my filter is very limited when it comes to a coaching posture. So I'm going to tell you this, if you're in this market now, regardless of how many transactions you're doing, doesn't matter to me if you're doing 12, 50 or 100. If you're prospecting 1 hour a day, you're in survival. 1 hour a day of prospecting is survival. And if you're not doing that, then I would look at you and say your business is at risk. And if you were trying to sell your business, it ain't worth nothing because you have a failing business. And I'm not trying to be mean to any specific person. So 1 hour a day is absolute survival. 2 hours a day is growth. Meaning if you prospect 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, I always do the 80-20 principle. So my coaching clients, I go 4 days a week is what you have to do. And if you get the 5th day in, it's awesome, but it's mandatory to be 4 out of 5 days to 80%. 2 hours a day, that's 8 hours a week. That's less than 20% of your workload for the week, right? In terms of prospecting, and it's your 80% of income. But 20%, that 2 hours a day is growth. You'll have the typical growth pattern that we see in real estate by growing by somewhere between 10 and 30% per year. If you did 20 transactions next year, you're going to do 22, 23, 25. If you did, 3 transactions next year, you're going to do 4, 5, maybe hopefully get 6 and double your business when it's smaller. But 3 hours a day is when you really dominate. 3 hours a day is when you become a savage in the real estate space and you outpace 98% of all the other agents. And when you get into this posture, it changes your perspective of what you enjoy. Because the first day you do it, you're not going to enjoy it. It's going to suck. It's going to suck a lot. When you start trying to carve out 2 and 3 hours a day in your business. But what Russ mentioned and alluded to was, I was talking to some of my top agents. I coach people in the real estate space, 1,000 transactions a year. I got 2 of them. And I just stopped coaching both of them for different reasons, but I was coaching them for about a year and a half. And I don't coach much production anymore. And I had half a dozen that were in the 100, 130, 90 deals a year. And without exception, every client that I had that was doing 100 plus transactions and north were prospecting 3 hours a day and really preserving that time like it was the most important thing on the planet. And then I'd bring on a new client that were doing 6 deals, 12 deals a year, even even a modestly successful agent doing 2 deals a month, 24 deals a year. None of them were prospecting 1 hour a day. They were all working in the referral database and waiting for the phone to ring, and then reactionary posture instead of a proactive prospecting posture. And when I looked at this, I just said, first of all, I was like, wow, that is a huge indicator of what the top people are understanding needs to be done. And somebody asked, what are the most aspects of prospecting? I'll go over that because I think it is valuable. But think about that. Look at your business individually. You don't have to raise your hand, or I don't want to single you out. But are you doing 1 hour a day religiously 4 out of 5 days? Are you doing 2? Are you doing 3? And I'd be willing to bet there's probably one person on this call doing over 2 hours a day of prospecting in their business. It's just because we've lived in a reactionary business for so long in the real estate space. And then the market's changed. And by the way, it's changing even more as we progress and look at the future.
Hey, Randy.
Yes.
Question for you, because I'm still relatively new in full-time real estate, and luckily I've done well. I break mine up into 3 different sections, depending upon the energy that I have and how I'm feeling that day. Right? It's not easy for anybody, regardless. I mean, it is what it is. That being said, I break it up into my sphere of influence, right? And I use Dawn's strategies of the 4 calls, and just depends on how I'm doing that day, right? The real estate resource is my favorite one. It's just super easy. Hey man, I'm just catching up, running on a bunch of flips. I'm doing some other stuff for some folks on home improvement. Just needed to know if you needed a contractor that does flooring, or HVAC, or a plumber, electrician. I just want you to make sure that I'm your real estate resource, right? And it goes right into a real estate conversation. So that's one. Just depends on how I'm feeling that day, and I either
give prospecting.
Yeah, close to an hour or whatever. They always ask about real estate once I get there, right? So I don't have to bring it up. Right. The second thing I do is, I have my niche is the REOs, right? So I call and reverse engineer REOs all the time. And then my third one is folks I don't know. I'm pretty relentless on for sale by owners, and I use my USA home bid strategy. So that's me, right? I have sphere, I have my niche, and then I have folks I don't know.
That's actually perfect.
Is that, I mean, I would love your feedback on, folks on the call. Is that the right strategy? Is there a better strategy? I know some people really work hard on a farm. Where would the farm fit into that? And so I haven't really done any farming per se.
Yeah, so it's great. It's a great question. Let me ask you a question. You have to look at this kind of day by day and month by month. But if you have the ability to call expireds, or the ability to call past clients that are in a rotational sequence, which one's going to automatically have better yield?
You tell me, Randy.
It's going to be the past clients 100% of the time.
Okay, all right.
100%. Because the past clients already know, love you, and trust you. And you're trying to build that with brand new people. So what I want to look at is the posture. If you've done 2,000 transactions in your career, and it takes you 3 hours a day to properly nurture them, meaning that you're 24 touching them a year minimum, that means 2 contacts per month, right? If you do the math on that, that means you're calling potentially 100 plus people in a week to have that sequence. Well, that is prospecting. You may not have time to go over and try and focus on the expireds, but if you've got that kind of ability in that, it could be leveraged as well. And there could be automation to enhance that. But at the very minimum, you have to be a live dial in your database every quarter at the very minimum. So that's 2,000 divided by quarters, right? So you've got this time of space. The way I look at it is you go through these chunks. Once I'm done with all this, then I go to the next market, which may be a farm. A farm is a geographical area that you've identified. You could be sending them postcards, but it's still got to be followed up with this prospecting touch. And it could be outside things. I saw the question, does open houses consider lead generation? Maybe. I'm going to say no first. And then I'm going to say, but if you're properly doing your open houses, to putting 40 signs out and doing a lot of things promotional that you're getting a lot of traffic, that's 100% prospecting. If you're sitting in there by yourself on Facebook, you're not prospecting. Okay. So as you look at the second bucket, so we have the main bucket is people that already know, like, and trust us and used us, that we need to stay in relationship with and prospect. And prospect is not, Russ, how you been? Randy Byrd. Yeah, it's been 2 years, man. How's the wife? How do you like that new motorhome you got? Awesome. Have a good day. It's Russ. All that conversation happens then. Hey, Russ, I'm a professional. I wanted to ask you, do you know anybody that's looking to buy, sell, invest, or rent real estate that I can help? Because I am prospecting today. I'm building my business on purpose, and you're a valued client of mine. I won't ask you this every time, but I'm asking you this time. Do you have anybody that I can help buy, sell, rent, invest real estate that you could think of? Nope, can't think of anybody. Russ, I probably surprised you. Can I call you back in a couple of days to a week, let you just think about that a little bit? Because this is the lifeblood of my business, and I will take care of them like I did you. Nope, we're good, Randy. Okay, I'm going to call you back next quarter, or whatever it is, right? The next bucket is the leads that have come into your system. the opportunities that have shown up in your system through a forced registration, through a listing website, through a squeeze page, through realtor.com, Zillow.com, whatever it is, that's the second bucket to me. These are people you're trying to nurture into a business relationship, transactionally or otherwise. The third bucket you really described very well is that cold bucket. It's people you're trying to get into your sphere of influence, right? EXP has an amazing free squeeze page, and you could do all kinds of seller listing pages that require no entry. The address goes right into it, and you get notified of what address they put in it, which, hello, it's usually them or their neighbor. So there's a lot of those cold things. I love farms. I love geographical farms. I love farms are a lot of different ways. You can have a farm that is representing the Seroptimus Club, the Exchange Club, Rotary. Those are all farms that you could work as well. And so just remember to keep in those sequence that you want to contact everybody at least 24 times a year, right? We've heard of this 24 to 30 touch. At the very minimum, you want to reach out to them every other week in some fashion electronically. It could be a newsletter, it could be a market report, it could be whatever. And then once a month, another interaction that's market specific. Right? I have a couple things here. You want to be education-based, data-driven evidence. That means once a month, you want to say, I am the expert. The inventory is 2.7 months. The average sales price is $441,862. Not like it's about 500 grand, right? Be very specific in your math because that makes you an expert. And then you'll be disputed against other people that they'll measure you by. And then, so it might be that monthly market report that you visually do with a video or something. And every 2 weeks, it's a newsletter or something of value. Every quarter, they hear your voice, period. Right? If they're higher in or lower in the funnel, if they're hotter, then they get more contact from you all the way up to multiple times a week. So this is that sequence that we look at when we think of prospecting. Let me ask you a question. Just raise your hands because you guys aren't coming off mute very easy. Is Facebook prospecting? Me and Russ are the only right ones. Kenny's going like this, which is accurate. If you're searching TikTok and laughing at the videos, that's not prospecting. But if you're messaging people, hey, I've been following you on Facebook quite a while. I love your stuff. You go direct message them and you say, hey, do you have a realtor that you would prefer? Do you have a, somebody that you'd really use? Kenny said my 555, right? 5 likes, 5 comments, 5 DMs a day, and social media is powerful. And it's only 5. And if you've got the time, do 25, 5, 5, do 25, 25, 25, right? Most people have thousands of people in their Facebook, but they haven't touched it. They just post their animal videos and they laugh at the other stuff with cakes and stuff. But if you could be really purposeful about that, especially if you build a business page and a personal page and start doing those correctly, super powerful. Right? Open houses, easiest thing. It's sweat equity. You could crush it in open houses by taking it to a high level. But if your open house is at 1 and you come flying it at 12:55, throw 3 signs up on the corner and then walk to the house, put 1 in the front yard and then go in the house, that's not really dominating the open house opportunity. Right? So we teach all this stuff as we go. And so really this is about, I'm going to give you 3 things as we finish the call today. You're under extreme pressure right now, in my opinion, in the real estate space. You're under extreme pressure from multiple different areas. And we're not talking about commission compression, all these other things that we could look at as forging where we're going in the future with these real estate commission lawsuits and stuff. I'm talking about you have 3 choices. In this real estate market, you can fight, you can come out swinging and just say, I'm going to do whatever it takes, whenever it takes, and however it takes. And I'm going to get 2 minimum to 3 hours a day of prospecting in. I get it that things happen, but this is a non-negotiable. I'll show you my calendar. It's 8 to 10 is blocked out. I don't do anything. My family knows it. My staff knows it. My clients know it. Period. End of story. It's not negotiable. Or number 2, you could flee. You can contract, find to a place of comfort, think you're doing real estate by posting little houses on social media. This is not real estate. You're really susceptible to going out of business in this market. Unless you're doing 2-3 transactions a month, you really don't have a full business. I'm not trying to be mean. I want to celebrate you that you did 8, 10, 12 transactions last year. But if you're under 1 transaction a month, you're basically on that razor line of being able to afford to stay in this business. And the average sell prices, it's about a $10,000 commission. You know, if we're looking at 2.5 at 400,000, it's about 10,000. You take splits out, you're about 8,000. All said and done, you're probably about $6,000 per transaction. That means you're making 72 to 85,000 a year. That's scratching a living. We know that in California and everywhere else. 2 transactions where you really start getting into momentum in a business and you own a business. 3 transactions a month and beyond, that's a very significant, stable business that you can have growth in and start building leverage. So number 2 was flee, which means just stay in place and kind of do the bare minimums. And number 3 is freeze. You do nothing. You just wait for the phone to ring. You might think about, you know, trying to get out a little more to the mall and see your clients or wherever you think you see them. But I'm just trying to be kind of in your face right now and say, I've been saying this for a while. I love you. I want you to win. I want you to succeed. But we have to think of this way. And, you know, as we say those top 3 things, if your best friend was going to buy your real estate business, is it sellable? Have you created a business worth selling, whether you're brand new or you've been in the business 10, 15, 20 years? Is your business worth selling? And if it doesn't look like it's worth selling on paper, even to somebody you care about, that's an evaluation you might want to look at and say, I need to make a change. Right? This is not me scaring you. This is free advice, which is worth free. Right? Yeah, the website, somebody asked me, it's called Mortgage News Daily. It's just an app you can pull up for free. And it's a national, so it may be a little different geographically and locally, but it's a national thing that says what all the rates are. 30-year FHA 6.95, jumbo 7.25, fixed to 7.24, and a 15-year fixed to 6.64. And then the VA is 6.92. It says that the rate trends at the bottom 2 were in a negative rate trend. And so that means that, you know, we're seeing some uncertainty in the rate market. And so again, this is for your benefit to, I'm telling you without question and without zero hesitation, these are the things that I would tell my own son, somebody I care about the most. And so if you did one thing from today's call, put 2 hours a day of prospecting in your calendar, guard it with your life, literally your business life. It needs to be guarded. And then just start stumbling through what those 2 hours look like, but make 2 hours worth of work happen. Honestly, in the first week, I don't care if you just look at the MLS for 2 hours and get really knowledgeable of what's going on. And that's not prospecting yet, but you're getting in the habit of spending that time in your real estate business. And, you know, I'll just leave you to this. Most of us get up, make our coffee, we think about what we're going to do today. We might look at the MLS. If you've been in my boot camps and stuff, we get knowledgeable what's going on in the market. And then we just go about our day. You know, we might want to drive by a couple houses we saw to preview for a client or whatever it is. That's, you're using your lockbox key, but you're not an active agent unless you're prospecting. All right. So we went over a little bit today. I kind of got on a roll, didn't look at the clock, but I appreciate you guys. Hopefully I didn't miss an appointment. I usually have them right after this, but I appreciate you. I do it every single Monday. You're welcome to come on here, come in with any questions, any problems. We'll dig in deep. Every week I go with where you want to go with the market. We could talk about farms. We could talk about specifics of KV Core and CRMs, whatever you want. I'm here to move the needle in your business. We record these and hopefully it has value. Okay. So I'll stay on for any Q&A if you guys have any. I do support you. Let me look at my calendar. Let me just make sure I'm good. I timed it perfectly. So any Q&A, any takeaways, anything I can help with, Russell?
Yeah. Hey, Randy, just a quick for everybody. The 28th, I know everybody keeps asking me, we're going to teach them how to use Krista Mayshor's system and then do some AI interface to make it even easier.
That's awesome.
And I know I have been pumping it up for a while, but the guy that I'm teaching with goes on vacation and we didn't want to break it up too much. So we're starting on the 28th.
I love it.
28th.
That's beautiful. And that's your personal team.
Yeah. Anybody in my group. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome.
And how do we register for it? We just message you or?
I sent you a QR code that you could register with, and then we're going to send out all of the information out that. But if you're on my, I apologize that I blow you up 4 or 5 times a week with my text messages, right? And it's from my personal cell phone. So if you ever, want to text me back, no problem. But I will not let anybody on my team miss it. So I will, like as we're going 2 or 3 days up to it, I'm like, hey, starting tomorrow.
Right.
Here's where you need to log in. Here's the start and location. So don't worry, you won't miss it.
Yeah, cool. And then obviously for my organization, we have multiple things for the week. They're all free. They're meant to be plugged into. And honestly, I think they're underutilized for the amount of talent we have with Tom Daves on Fridays, me on Mondays, Don Yoakum on Tuesdays. Our team call is on Wednesday for everybody in the organization, 1,000 people. And, we don't want you going to so many meetings that becomes what your identity is in real estate. We know that can happen easily as well. I would much rather have you call me and tell me you'd missed the meeting because you did 2 hours of prospecting. Trust me on that one.
Randy, when you say too, like I tell everybody, come to each of these. I mean, it's a half hour, right? On with you on Monday. It's a half hour with Dawn on Tuesday. It's a half hour Wednesday morning. If you want to attend Brent's on Thursday, you can. And then on Friday, it's a half an hour. If you come to our meetings every week and you don't miss those 30 minutes, you put them on your schedule as part of your business. You are up to date on the loan programs, interest rates.
You're a different agent and inside of 30 days.
Yeah. And then go prospect with all the knowledge that you get. So don't miss out.
So let's leave it like this. Let's just say that I just got licensed and I'm new in the business, and tell me what to do, coach. Put me in, right? Put me in, coach, like Corey. He's a rock star. He's going to do great. He's just a sponge right now. And maybe I'm speaking to Corey. Yeah. Maybe I'm speaking to you right now, Corey, right? Here's your thing. Lay out what your week is. What's your perfect hours week? Let's just say it's 40 hours for this argument. There's some people that have to be part-time, 20, 40, whatever it is. The 40 hours, 8 hours of prospecting. You have 32 hours left in your week. 2 hours of our group trainings and calls and stuff, minimum. That's 4 half-hour calls a week, right? So now you're at 10 hours. You've got 30 hours in the week to go show property, to look at the MLS, to do all those other activities. And guess what? That 10 hours pays for all the income for your whole business, because that other stuff likely doesn't create income. You might have flips. You might have investments. You might have opportunities. You might be working some big subdivision deal, all that stuff. Fill that with the 30-hour weeks. Showings take priority, right? Servicing sellers and servicing buyers are priority. That has to happen. I want to go see a house. I want to go see 3 houses. I want to list my house. I want to, whatever it is, that's servicing buyers and sellers are the priority of the 30 hours. You'll be shocked. If you spend 6 hours in that space, that's a lot. In case you have somebody out of town, you might spend a little more. So now you're looking at probably, let's just say you spend another 8 hours. That means you have 22 hours in the week in a full-time 40-hour week capacity, which is really not that much in our world, right? To do all the other things. Just don't fill your week with the other stuff first, so you don't have any time to do this. Start from the top at the most important priority, prospecting number 1, team calls and ingraining your stuff in the culture of your organizations, businesses, families, whatever it is for business real estate is number 2. Number 3, servicing buyers and sellers, and then fill the week with everything else. Right? That Perfect. Is the secret to your calendar success.
Okay.
That's absolutely mic drop. That's it.
There you go.
I probably have coached 20,000 hours now. I would stack that up with you and bet any amount of money that if you did those 3 things in that order and let your business follow into place, you'd be successful even if you were the worst at everything. I'm just saying. All right. That's the benefit to this. And then when you're a good looking man like Corey and you have a good sounding voice on the phone, all these things are just adding to your success ratio. All right.
Hey, Randy.
Yes.
Treva.
Hi, Treva.
I just wanted to mention something that we were talking about. Somebody asked about open house being prospecting. And I will just say straight up, over all the years, I hate open houses. That's just me. But I will tell you the best open house I've had in 20 years is what Russell was mentioning, the USA Home Bids. And interestingly enough, you can see I'm in the car. My first one is actually a house that's just outside my car right now. And prior to this meeting, the neighbor walked up to me and wants to list her house because she said she saw what I did. So it's absolutely prospecting, but
Love it.
USA Home Bids turned my open house into like it was real prospecting. It really was. It was
Yeah.
amazing. So I
And
just wanted to
Russ,
say that.
Russ owns USA Home Bids. So if you want to look into that, that's the website, USA Home Bids, and he does a great job with that. The reality is it's prospecting based, the way it's set up, right?
Yeah.
So open houses can be incredibly valuable. And the thing about open houses is it's sweat equity. It costs you nothing. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars in marketing. It's free. It's sweat equity. It's just that many people do it incorrectly. So good job, Treva. It's the amount of signs, it's the amount of hours. And we've done a lot of YouTube videos on open houses. Myself, Brent Gove, some other people that have been successful in it. So just go watch those and learn from people that have walked before you. But thanks for that. All right, everybody. Got to run. Appreciate it. Awesome meeting. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Thanks, Russell, for all your support as a leader. And thanks, everybody. Good seeing your faces here today on this Monday. Have a great day, everybody. I appreciate you. See you next week. Bye for now.
Thanks, Randy.
You bet. Thank you, Russell. Later. Bye.